We are so fortunate that we have the ability to ask all of these different resources, all the questions that we could ever think about. And when people are considering moving to a new location, they usually go onto Google and start going down a rabbit hole of questions to see, is this in fact a place that I want to consider for me and my family? Well, today we are going to be answering some of those questions, some of the most commonly asked questions to Google when somebody is considering moving to Northern Colorado and specifically Fort Collins. What's up, everybody? My name is Patrick Soukup with Soukup Real Estate Services here in Fort Collins. And today we are talking about some of the most common asked questions to Google when moving to Fort Collins, Colorado. Let's jump into it. All right, probably one of the first questions somebody's going to ask is, what is the cost of living in this location? And I think it's super important because, well, can we afford it? Is our income going to sustain us? Are we going to be house rich and cash poor? Do we think we can actually enjoy being there and do exactly what we want? Have our kids go to the schools that we want to go to, be able to go out to dinner or travel trips? Does this fit our cost of living? So going down what the cost of living in Fort Collins is, one of our most expensive things is housing. If you're gonna be renting a 1-bedroom house in Fort Collins, you probably expect to pay about $1,500. And that's for an apartment. Now, a 2-3 bedroom apartment, you could look for anywhere between $1,800 to $2,200. When you're looking at a house to rent, you're probably, when you are at the bottom side of about $2,200 and from there going up. You're really not gonna find anything else for a single family house under 2,200 square feet. The median price of a home in Fort Collins, Colorado is about $610,000. So depending upon how much you're gonna be putting down, you also gonna have your principal, interest, property taxes, and insurance to pay on top of that for your monthly mortgage. If you put down less than 20%, you're going to have PMI costs. So definitely want to take a look at what interest rates are, how much you're putting down, and then that'll spit out a number of your principal and interest. Property taxes in Fort Collins are about 0.5% of the purchase price if you are not in a metro district. If you're in a metro district, it could very well be 1% of the purchase price. So for sake of numbers, a $600,000 purchase price is going to result in a $3,000 a year property tax. If you're in a metro district, it's going to be closer to $6,000 a year in property taxes. Now, if you're buying a $600,000 to $700,000 house in Fort Collins, depending on your premium and the deductible that you decide to go with, and whether or not you're going to have a flat deductible or a percentage deductible on your home, your insurance could be anywhere between $2,500 to $3,500 per year. So those are the numbers that you're going to want to take into consideration if you're considering buying a house in Fort Collins and Northern Colorado. On the lower side, if you're looking at buying a townhome or a condo, you could probably find things for $250,000 to $350,000. Again, the median price point for the purchase of a home, about $610,000. But what else? On top of that, utilities. You're gonna be paying for utilities. Fort Collins has Fort Collins Connections, which for a gigabyte speed, you could get for 1 gigabyte speed for $70 per month. We have natural gas for our heating source and electric for, for running the appliances in your house. The AC, things of that nature is going to be running off of electricity. They kind of flip-flop between summer and winter. Your summer, you're going to have heavy and high use of electricity, low use of natural gas. And it's going to kind of flip-flop during the winters. You're going to have high use of natural gas, lower usage of electricity. Water, you're going to be watering your lawn probably, and then also use of that. All in, for my house, it's a 4,000 square foot house, 2,000 square foot ranch, 2,000 square foot basement, so we don't have as much to heat above ground, a little bit less energy to use that. We usually average about $300 to $400 per month for utilities, gas, water, electric, and internet. Now, you are going to be buying and going to the grocery store, going out to eat, so what does the food cost? Well, for an individual, you could probably get away with around $800 per month. But for a family of 4, depending on your grocery and things of that nature of how you use, cook leftovers, things of that nature, really your grocery bill could be anywhere between $1,200 to $2,000. Going out to eat for a family of 4 is gonna be about $60 to $100 depending on the location that you go to. You go to kind of a Rally 5 or a BJ's, expecting anywhere between $60 to $80. But then if you go to like a Rare or Sunny Lubick Steakhouse, $100 to $250 really is not out of the question. The Whiskey Still Steakhouse is also a great steakhouse to consider. Now, we are also a very car-centric community. Now, we are a platinum-rated bike community, and there are absolutely individuals that will ride their bike year-round. I know some of them, admire them. I think they're awesome. I don't see myself doing that. Maybe I could do it more during the spring, summer, and fall. There are absolutely paths, bike paths, opportunities for you to get from the Southeast to Old Town. I've got a video about that, so watch that if you are interested. But we are very car-centric. For me, it's about 7 miles round to and from work each day, and family in Fort Collins or a individual in Fort Collins could expect to pay anywhere between $250 to $350 per month for gas, depending on the vehicle. Public transportation is free. Fort Collins Transport Max Bus System. They are definitely trying to expand that. And again, we are passing an active modes plan here in Fort Collins. And so they are trying to push more and more people out of their vehicles into public transportation or more electric bikes, bike paths, things of that nature. So there are definitely chances for you to use less gas and your car less and less in Fort Collins if that is a desire of yours. Now, healthcare. Healthcare also is definitely income related, and also a lot of healthcare is benefit of companies. For us, I'm a family of 5. We have myself, my wife, both healthy in our 30s, a 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And we don't have any income support from Obamacare, so we don't get any subsidies from that. We pay $1,500 a month and then have a max individual out of pocket of $6,000 and a family max of $13,000. And so that is what our healthcare costs were when we were at 2 kids. And for people in the family, it was closer to $1,250 per month. So about $250 per kid here in Fort Collins as far as healthcare goes. Now, childcare. You've got healthcare for childcare, but you also have childcare. You have in-home operations, you have nannies, you have facilities that can take and watch your kiddos before preschool, which preschool in Colorado is starting 2023. You get 15 hours per week for free at specific childcare facilities in Fort Collins, and Poudre School District is a part of that. So look into that. But if you have an in-home nanny, you could expect to pay anywhere between $20 to $25 per hour, depending on how many kids you have. A in-home daycare that you could expect to pay anywhere between $350 to $750 per month per kid, depending on how many hours per week that you use. And then a facility, I've heard anywhere between $1,200 to $1,600 per kid. So your childcare expenses, these kids are expensive, man. I mean, holy cow. I can't wait till they get all into kindergarten and that expense goes out and I feel like a rich man. But yes, those are the childcare expenses that you could expect here in Fort Collins. Those are your really major cost of living factors to consider here in Fort Collins. That is the #1 question that people ask Google. And if you want more information about really kind of the finer details, never hesitate to reach out, call, or text, or comment below and I will try to answer in more detail. All right, what are the best neighborhoods in Fort Collins? Now, we actually just released a few videos on best neighborhoods, most appreciating, and neighborhoods to watch, but there are so many great neighborhoods in Fort Collins that are not on those videos. You know, I would say Parkwood, Indian Hills, Loomis, Scott Sherwood. You've got on the south side, Warren Shores, The Landings, Clarendon Hills, the ponds in the northwest. You've got Taft Canyon. You've got so many great neighborhoods. Huntington Hills, Miramont, Fossil Lake Ranch, McClellan's Creek, Observatory Village, Kechter Farm. There are so many great neighborhoods, and it really depends on what your desires are. The Southeast is one of my favorite quadrants in Fort Collins, but you might be just a diehard Northwest person that wants to stick and be close to Laurie State Park, and so you might look at the ponds a little bit harder, or you like the Northeast, and so you're looking at kind of the country club area, or Old Town, or the Southwest, the Taft Canyon, Clarendon Hills, just great neighborhoods across Fort Collins, and really just depends on what your goals are and desires of where you want to live. The third question that people ask when considering moving to Fort Collins is, what is the job market like? And it makes sense. Now, a lot of people are able to relocate, keep their jobs, work remotely, but also some people come here and they want to be a part of and work in the community that they are in. And so they want to see what the economic, vitality is. Fort Collins is a very low unemployment rate, hovers right around 3%, right at or right below 3% for many, many years. We have a strong healthcare system, UC Health, Banner Health, great employers, Poudre School District, City of Fort Collins. Our largest employer, though, is Colorado State University, CSU. We're very grateful for them. Really, it is a land grant college that is now a university. We are grateful for them and hope that they stay and are growing and do a great job, because they are the backbone of Fort Collins. We have a decent startup community with some co-working spaces downtown, and others, great little startups, Laborjack, Bilgo, Turbo Tenant, to name a few of the startups. But we don't have as strong or growing startup community as kind of a Boulder or a Denver, but we are trying and nourishing. And one of City of Fort Collins' economic strategic health plans, part of the plans, is how do we keep talent here in Fort Collins? Because we have such a great university in Colorado State University, but after they graduate, do they go to Denver or do they go elsewhere with their skill sets? We are trying to keep those individuals in town, and there are some great stories of startups that have had success and are putting their roots here in Fort Collins. And companies like Otterbox and Madwire, we're grateful for those as employers. But overall, the economic health of Fort Collins, I'd say we're pretty diverse. We're not heavy with the Colorado State University, but I would say if they left, it would be a massive, or faltered, it'd be a massive impact to our economy. And but we do have good healthcare, the school systems, HP, Broadcom, Agilent. We do have great employers here in Fort Collins other than CSU, Budweiser, to name and we have others that are coming. So we're super excited. Amazon and Loveland, we're super excited about the growth, economic growth, and health of Fort Collins. But those are what the job atmosphere is like for the question number 3. Number 4, what is the weather like in Fort Collins? Well, shoot, I was just outside and it was sunny, and maybe I go outside in 10 minutes and it's gonna be rainy or snowy. That's the joke, that really it can change and turn as fast as that. And the reality is yesterday it was sunny, was out with my kids, walking around the lake, and it was a little windy because we were out north, but then today was a very slushy, sleet type of snow. We are officially in spring, thank goodness. It was a very long winter, but summer, we have 4 distinct seasons: spring, summer, fall, winter, and you could have 50, 60 degree days during winter, and you could have some pretty darn cold days all the way up until Mother's Day. And as early as September 8th is our historical early snow. So Fort Collins is, really a coin flip, but fall is my absolute favorite season. Summer can get hot, average highs in the 80s and 90s, but you can absolutely see some days in the high 90s, low 100s. And in the winter, our average lows will be in the teens, but you can absolutely see some days hit below 0. In fact, this last winter was pretty rough. There was 3 different times during the day that we saw negative temperatures of -10, 12, -17 one day, and that is pretty darn cold. So we're grateful that we're getting into that spring time period. Spring can get a little windy. I would say that's one thing that's kind of a bummer as far as weather goes, because you could have a phenomenally sunny day, great temperature, but then the wind just ruins it. And I would say our springs can absolutely be pretty windy. And I remember in 2022, it felt abnormally windy. So hopefully we have a great spring coming up. Summer and fall, can't beat it. Get out on your bike, ride around. Good, changing the leaves. Fall is absolutely gorgeous here, as it is so many different places. And there could be winters that the first snow doesn't fall until late November, early December. But then there can also be winters that you get dumped on September 8th. So Fort Collins weather is definitely 4 seasons. Come here prepared for that, and also the quick shifting of the weather. And thank goodness that we have good forecasts these days. 10 days you can look at and be like, thank good. Yeah, we got a 60-degree Saturday coming up here in spring, and I'm excited for that. Number 5, what are the best schools in Fort Collins? And I would say this makes sense because there's a lot of families that move to Fort Collins. Fort Collins is a very family-friendly community. The Choice City is one of its nicknames. You can go downtown, very safe atmosphere, great schools. There are great public schools. There are public charter schools and private schools as well. Now, our public school system in Fort Collins is the Poudre School District. That's going to be kind of what your expectations are when you come in, live in a boundary school. You do have school of choice, but we have great boundary schools. School of choice, there's a couple core knowledge programs. Trout, Zach, and Kennard Middle School are some core knowledge opportunities for you and your kids. And then otherwise, high schools, Fossil Ridge is probably the best high school from performance and rankings go. So if you look up best high school, Fossil Ridge is going to be one that pops up. But Poudre High School is actually an IB program, International Baccalaureate, as is Lesher IB. It's a world school. So for middle schools, that's probably one of the most academically challenging middle schools that's not a core knowledge. And then elementaries are great across the board. Private schools are St. Joseph's, Heritage Christian, and actually this one, it's not necessarily in Fort Collins, but Resurrection Christian. It's a very popular school here in Northern Colorado. I've got some family members that go to it, younger cousins and nephews, younger cousins that go there, but popular here in Fort Collins. But I would say one thing that to take into consideration when people move here, look at the curriculums, consider public schools versus private school. I myself, I'm going to be sending my kids through the public school system. I'm excited about that, but there's definitely, changes to curriculum that you might want to explore and consider for you and yours if that doesn't align with your beliefs or what you would prefer for your kids to be taught. So you do have a private school option, not many. Then you do have public charter schools. The highest sought out are going to be Liberty Commons and Ridgeview Classical, but there are others such as Axis, which is on LeMay and Drake, teaches multiple language. It's kind of an international program. Then you have the Academy of Arts and Knowledge, which is going to be a K through 5. And then you also have a lot of Montessori schools. That's a pretty popular question that I get asked when a lot of people are moving here to Fort Collins in Northern Colorado is, what are the Montessori schools and options? And there are definitely some of those. Got friends and clients who sent their kiddos there. So there are absolutely some of those options as well. All right, I think that's enough for part 1. I definitely wanted to dig into the cost of living, schools, and neighborhoods, some of those really exciting, important questions that people want to take into consideration. And now, if you're considering moving to Northern Colorado, me and my team work with so many families moving across the country and world, and even within our state as well. And we become experts at that process. And so never hesitate to reach out to ask any questions, call, text, or email. Or if you're considering moving to Fort Collins or Northern Colorado, please reach out. We'd love to be a resource, your boots on the ground. We do a phenomenal job and are happy and excited to take on new clients. So reach out. And otherwise, if you've enjoyed this video, definitely give it a thumbs up, comment, or if you know somebody who's moving to Northern Colorado or Fort Collins, send this to them that might answer some of their questions and some of my opinions from living in Fort Collins for the last 35 years. Now, until next time, part 2 will be coming up for continued questions and answers about the most commonly asked questions moving to Fort Collins. All right, thanks so much.